Hi, my name is Ronnie Datta and today we're going to talk about the 1971 war that liberated Bangladesh on House of Defense. The Indo-Pakistani War of 1971 was a military confrontation between India and Pakistan that occurred during the Liberation War in East Pakistan from 3rd December to the fall of Dhaka on 16 December 1971. Lasting just 13 days, it is one of the shortest wars in history. The Indo-Pakistani conflict was sparked by the armed liberation struggle in East Pakistan between the Bengalis and the multi-ethnic West Pakistanis over the right to govern and the constitution. The political tensions between East Bengal and West Pakistan had its origin in the creation of Pakistan as a result of the partition of India in 1947, the popular language movement in 1950, mass riots in East Bengal in 1964 and the mass protests in 1969. In addition, there were also religious and racial tensions between Bengalis and the multi-ethnic West Pakistanis, as Bengalis looked different from the dominant West Pakistanis. Shortly after, the media began airing reports of the Pakistani military's widespread genocide against their Bengali citizens, particularly aimed at the minority Bengali Hindu population. Members of the Pakistani military and supporting Islamist militias called the Razakars raped 400,000 Bangladeshi women and girls in a systematic campaign of genocidal rape. This led to approximately 10 million people seeking refuge in the neighboring states of eastern India. The Indian government opened the East Pakistan-India border to allow the Bengali refugees to find safe shelter. The governments of West Bengal, Bihar, Assam, Meghalaya and Tripura established refugee camps along the border. The resulting flood of impoverished East Pakistani refugees strained India's already overburdened economy. Prime Minister Indira Gandhi on 27 March 1971 expressed full support of her government for the independence struggle of the people of East Pakistan and concluded that instead of taking in millions of refugees, it was economical to go to war against Pakistan. And on 28 April 1971, the Gandhi cabinet had ordered the Chief of the Army Staff, General Sam Manekshaw, to go into East Pakistan. India responded by starting a massive build-up of the Indian Army on the western borders. The army waited until December, when the drier ground in the east would have made for easier operations and the Himalayan passes would have been closed by snow, preventing any Chinese intervention. On the evening of 3rd December at about 5:40 p.m., the Pakistani Air Force launched surprise preemptive strikes on 11 airfields in northwestern India, including Agra, which was 480 kilometers from the border. In an address to the nation on radio that same evening, Prime Minister Gandhi held that the airstrikes were a declaration of war against India, and the Indian Air Force responded with initial airstrikes that very night, which expanded to massive retaliatory airstrikes the next morning. In the western theatre of the war, the Indian Navy's Western Naval Command under Vice Admiral S.N. Kohli successfully launched a surprise attack on Karachi port on the night of 4th December 1971 under the codename Trident. The naval attack, involving the Soviet-built OSA missile boats, sank the Pakistan Navy's destroyer PNS Khyber and minesweeper PNS Muhafiz, while PNS Shah Jahan was also badly damaged. Pakistani naval sources reported that about 720 Pakistani sailors were killed or wounded, and Pakistan lost reserve fuel and many commercial ships, thus crippling the Pakistan Navy's further involvement in the conflict. As the Indian Army tightened its grip in East Pakistan, the Indian Air Force continued with its attacks as the campaign developed into a series of daylight, anti-airfield, anti-radar and close support attacks by fighter jets, with night attacks against airfields and strategic targets by Canberras and AIM-12s. India flew 1,978 sorties in the east and about 4,000 in Pakistan, while Pakistan flew about 30 and 2,840 at the respective fronts. The PAF, which was solely focused on air combat, was blown out of the subcontinent's skies within the first week of the war. Those PA-4 aircrafts that survived took refuge at Iranian air bases or in concrete bunkers, refusing to offer a fight. India lost 45 while Pakistan lost 75 aircrafts. The imbalance in air losses was explained by the IAF's considerably higher sortie rate and its emphasis on ground attack missions. On 23 November 1971, the Indian Army conventionally penetrated to the eastern fronts and crossed East Pakistan's borders to join their Bengali nationalist allies. On the ground, Pakistan suffered the most with 8,000 killed and 25,000 wounded, while India only had 3,000 dead and 12,000 wounded. Faced with insurmountable losses, the Pakistani military capitulated in less than a fortnight, and psychological panic spread in the Eastern Command's military leadership. Subsequently, the Indian Army encircled Dhaka and issued an ultimatum to surrender in a 30-minute time window on 16 December 1971. Upon hearing the ultimatum, the East Pakistan government collapsed when Lieutenant General A.A.K. Niazi and his deputy M.S. Khan surrendered without offering any resistance. Pakistan ultimately called for unilateral ceasefire and surrendered its entire fourth-tier military to the Indian Army, hence ending the Indo-Pakistani War of 1971. Following the surrender, the Indian Army took approximately 90,000 Pakistani servicemen as POWs or prisoner of wars, making it the largest surrender since World War II. If you like this video about the 1971 war, please share it with your friends, your family, subscribe to MyNation, and keep watching House of Defense.